For daily Ask Reddit. r/ask Reddit. Has anyone known a killer before they killed? What were they like? My little sister dated a guy when she was in high school who ended up murdering a couple he owed money to for heroin. This dude beat them with a baseball bat and hammer. He almost got the death sentence, but ended up with life in prison with no possibility of parole. He was a seemingly nice, polite teenager. I used to drive him and my sister around for various dates and things. He was quiet, but not oddly so. He just seemed like a normal teenage boy. I guess drugs can do that to people. Yep, horrific situation. He was only 21, I think, when he did it too. I graduated high school with Dr. Death, Chris Dunch. He was an asshole. He was charming with teachers and people who could benefit him. He was awful to everybody else. I didn't see it, but one or more awkward and vulnerable classmates said he bullied him relentlessly, and I believe it. He was easily irritated, and if you got on his nerves he would really lose his cool. Remarkably mean. And people would just shrug their shoulders and say that's just how Chris is. My dad actually had spinal surgery performed by him during the time frame of when he killed and maimed all those people. He was highly respected and recommended. And my parents have $$, so they didn't just go with the first surgeon they met. Multiple DRs referred my dad to him. A few years ago I hired a father-son handyman team to help me get my house ready to put on the market. Among other things, my outside door knobs were in bad shape, so they installed new ones. The dad seemed pretty nice, even did a little bit for free. On their third and last day at my house, he was pretty fired up about a big job they were starting the next day. 3 days later he killed his new clients because they were unhappy with his work. A neighbor saw what happened and ran into her house and hid. He kicked her door in and shot her too. I was terrified until he was caught. A neighbor saw what happened and ran into her house and hid. He kicked her door in and shot her too. I was terrified until he was caught. In my first semester of college, I had a computer science professor I really loved. Near the end of the semester, he told us he may be taking time off and finding a replacement for the semester. His severely autistic son had died in a tragic pool accident. He noted that the media was trying to make him look bad. I created a GoFundMe for funeral expenses. He appreciated it and shared photos to use on the page. Fast forward half a year, I get calls from news reporters asking what my thoughts are. He had been arrested on suspected unintentional manslaughter. It turns out, he had left his son outside in the cold by the pool, unsupervised, when he left for work. His son was never supposed to be unattended. His son was outside for who knows how long before the professor's daughter found the boy face down in the pool. Further research into the case revealed the boy was living in an unfurnished basement, feces all over the walls, often left alone. The police were at the home frequently. CPS had made various safety requirements for them that they never followed. He's being charged with unintentional manslaughter and various forms of child abuse. Him and his wife are being charged for filling the boy's Ritalin prescription for many months after the death. I still believe it was intentional. Texts revealed the daughter discovered the boy when the professor texted her, asking her to check if Freak was okay. He was really nice, and I had gone to K-12 with him. Never knew him to be the kind of person that would even get upset. Then I get a text a couple years ago asking, do you know about X? Him and his brother killed their parents. Edit, I'm out of the loop on this one. Younger brother was cleared. Apparently you and I went to high school together. I had PE with the younger brother the year that everything went down. We had a few mutual friends and I would sometimes joke around with him during class. I remember feeling so bad because everyone was, understandably, unnerved around him when he finally started going to class again. I tried my best to treat him as normally as possible, but things were never quite the same. I spent 3 months on a study abroad with a special forces, ex-FBI, guy named Joe. We were a small group of mostly students, whereas Joe was older, and there as part of foreign immersion training for the military. He was a little odd/awkward at times, and didn't share too much about himself, which we mostly attributed to the age difference. I described Joe as very intense but kind-hearted. The military was very important to him, and he always seemed very focused on that. but occasionally he'd make a dry joke or let his guard down for a moment with the group. He was very into photography and shared lots of great photos from the trip. He was also somewhat the protector of the group and we always felt completely safe with him. One story I'll share was when he was walking over a bridge and spied some guys in the trees waiting to jump down and rob him. He pulled out a large knife he carried on him and casually brandished it as he walked by. The guys smartly decided not to mess with Joe, but after he crossed he saw them sprint across the bridge and hide behind a building. 2 policemen showed up shortly after and Joe showed them where the guys were hiding so the police could arrest them. Anyways, a few years after we got back I heard the news that he had killed someone and took his own life. He had been training for a new position and his commander deemed that he wasn't physically fit enough for the job. The judgment effectively ended his career and he felt he had been unfairly judged. He brought a gun into the base and shot his commander dead, then killed himself. The younger brother of a girl I was friends with in middle school and high school. They had some struggles growing up, and I know their mother was an abusive relationship because we gave her some help getting away from her husband. We connected many years later and found out that the younger brother had murdered someone. Initially it sounded pretty gruesome, but when I actually read court reports I kind of felt bad for the kid. He had some mental illness issues, but as a teenager apparently he had been groomed by a much older man into a sexual relationship where the man provided money, shelter and of course drugs. He was extremely controlling and abusive. Eventually the kid tried to get away and was trying to start a new life with a girl he met, but this guy tracked him down and blackmailed him. Eventually kid snapped and murdered him. I think I felt worse for the kid because a lot of people can't get away from their abusers.